The original founder and CEO of Hypixel Studios, Simon Hypixel, has just come out with a huge statement regarding all the development details around Hightail, why he ended up leaving the project, and backs up what many ex-developers have been coming out to say about the making of this game. This all started near enough right after the cancellation was announced, when Slikey, a developer who left Hytale around 14 months ago, stated, "A fish from the head stinks." He also tweeted, "Crazy to see Hytale is cancelled. I left 1 year and 2 months ago and moved on from the challenges there. This is reviving a lot of memories, good and bad ones." When someone said, "It just sucks we'll never see an alpha or an old Java build of this game," he then replied, "Who knows what happens with the assets? These things exist, and if the internet has proven one thing, it's that eventually everything sees the light of day one way or another." And he's not wrong. I did say to my friends that leaks could be far more likely for a few weeks at least after the cancellation. Maybe one day we could even see a version of that legacy engine. After that, the developer went on to start dropping a lot of inside information about his experience at the company, which then later led to the ex-CEO chiming in. Slikey said, "A lot of good memories I had with Hytale were when we worked in the chaos phase. We built the legacy engine while being naturally aligned on the mission. We were working together so well that every single week we showed our progress to each other in the Monday meeting." You have to imagine, there was basically no meetings, no bureaucracy back then, just raw communication via TeamSpeak, Slack, and GitHub. I personally worked on world generation and closely cooperated with the world team, later level design, to give them new tools and see them use them. It was a truly agile and fast-paced environment of progress. The legacy engine was built by those inexperienced Minecraft server devs and other devs who joined on that mission. There was this very strong culture of just doing things and iteration. People who joined us during that time seemed to get infected by this culture, and I've met so many incredible professionals that I will try to work with until I retire and potentially beyond. Honestly, this all seems very reminiscent of that old Hytale feeling that many of us probably get nostalgic for now, because it was infectious. We did feel that energy permeate through the weekly blog posts, and with the optimism the team approached every update with. Even Simon Hypixel chimes in here saying 2016 to 2018 was peak organized chaos and a fun time. And that was before the trailer even released. At that point, it all seemed perfect, but Slikey then talks about what went wrong. At some point, this approach no longer scales. The true cost of a new team member is not the salary, it's the head count. A head has opinions. When the natural alignment was diluted, we started to discuss more and plan more. It started to slow things down. Slowing down, he continues, can be positive when you are nearing a finish line, and in many senses, the legacy engine was moving towards a stage where slowing down would have been warranted. But then the multi-platform push came in, and I think that is the moment where things took a massive turn for me. He says this was the inflection point where things really changed direction. Everything changed. Organization structure, team responsibilities, leadership, hiring strategy, the tech, the vision, everything, absolutely everything changed within a really short time span. It all felt foreign to me. This is obviously not great to hear, and really the first time that we're properly understanding from the team's perspective just how the scale up of this team caused the environment to change much more drastically than maybe even we were led on to believe from the outside. The first thing everyone is saying with Hytale is it suffered from feature creep. The vision got bloated, and the team have tried very hard to argue against that narrative for a few years now, that they were reducing scope and weren't allowing themselves to become overly ambitious. However, in opposition to that, Slikey says, hearing it wasn't feature creep, honestly, I can only smash my face into the table if anyone believes that. Systems that were already far ahead of Minecraft at the time were completely reinvented to make them, quote, even better, resulting in call. Honestly, it begs the question, who were these people that were reinventing entire functioning systems? Why were they delaying and taking up so much time? You know, a lot of fingers are being pointed right now. Noxy, upper management, Riot Games, the stakeholders. Well, Simon then came in and gave us much needed answers. Simon, again, for those of you who don't know, was the guy who founded Hypixel Studios, and before that founded the Hypixel Minecraft server. He says, during my time working on Hytale in 2016 to 2019, it was maybe to the absolute maximum 2 years away from a PC release with the legacy engine and vision. I still have videos, screenshots, and old client builds to attest to that. All developers from that time that I've talked to say the same. I don't know exactly what happened in the past few years. I have not seen the game since 2019. The team back then was locked in and cracked beyond anything. The momentum was insane. We were in a stage where tons of gameplay elements were getting introduced every single week, and the game was shaping up fast towards release. There are already dozens of stories like this from former devs coming out in the past few days, and we didn't need to release in a perfect state, in my opinion. I was burning maybe 350 to 400k a month on Hytale development. Somewhat sustainable, but that was before Hypixel Skyblock and the Minecraft server was on a decline, so I needed funding soon to keep going at such pace. Maybe that sense of limited funds urgency was a good thing looking back on it, however it was stressful to say the least. Then I think the pressure of having the Riot Games label plus a mega viral trailer, bigger funding, and higher expectations made us all doubt ourselves back then. On a personal level, I couldn't live up to these new expectations and was given an option to leave by Riot. The team was so good that I felt like an imposter at that point. Given my limited real game development experience, it was good for me to leave, and I agreed. Even still, today I agree with that decision, and I completely understand how that came to be. I wanted to give the team a better chance of success and not hold them back. Riot has been good to me during the process, and I appreciate it. They're truly a great company and gave so much freedom to the team. However, for me, it has been a grieving process to walk away from such an extraordinary opportunity. This week is full of what if thoughts going through my head. FYI, unknown public fact, I was offered way more money from a different company and walked out the moment of deal close. Many people can attest to that, but then decided to go with Riot in the end because I truly believed that this would give the team a better chance at success and more funding for the game. Ultimately, I'm happy doing my own things on a smaller scale and slowly growing, hiring the people that I'd love to work with. As for Noxy, I have known him for 14 years now, and I think people are quick to blame everything on him for the wrong reasons. Yes, ultimately he is responsible as the CEO, but I feel like it's because Noxy trusted and hired, quote, real producers with, quote, real game experience from the game industry and let them drive the project into something else with bigger plans, and they started to rewrite tons of features, systems, and even then the engine. It was as if they wanted to appropriate the game to themselves to prove to the world and to Riot Games that they were better. I don't know, we never talked about it, but this is how I felt it was going from an external POV. When you get too much funding and have growing public expectations, you do tend to hire experienced people who want to appropriate the project to themselves, and years down the line, you have to hire new producers to repair the whole mess and hire another producer, and then another producer and another after that. Simon finishes by saying, I haven't talked to Noxy about Hytale in a while. It was a difficult topic every time we talked about it in the past for many years. I could feel his pain. I wish him well in the future though. May he trust himself to do things instead of trusting random experienced people. Noxy and I's relationship was very good back then because I would empower him in a way that gave him agency while I was in the shadows giving him confidence. I'm legit upset about seeing people bashing Noxy so hard. He is truly a good human being, and that's probably why Hytale suffered. He trusted and believed the wrong people to drive this project home. Day 1 vision and day 3000 vision are completely different. The world will probably never see what it was meant to be. I wish there was a way. Man, that was a big statement, and there's a lot to unpack there. The fact that Hytale, in Simon's eyes, was 2 years away from release maximum and has old builds of the game. Honestly, I bet we're all really jealous of any team members that still have some sort of build on their computer if they didn't have to delete it. I also bet we're all wondering what that other company was that put in a much bigger offer to Simon for the game. Honestly, it does get you thinking. It could be quite a few of the big boys. If you didn't know, I did game design for a development team on Roblox for a few years, and we went through a somewhat similar experience. This dev team was like one of the top teams in the ecosystem. We were partnered with Roblox and got all sorts of opportunities to pitch to brands. The team earned more money, they started scaling up and hiring lots and lots of people, and before long we were pitching to Disney, KFC, and even the NFL, which they felt meant they needed to bring in AAA devs to carry the workload. What they ended up doing is essentially scrapping most workflow processes and heavily critiquing things until they were, quote, the proper way, which caused all the games to take much longer, half a department to quit in the process, and a lot of games that just didn't match the vibe of the Roblox ecosystem. What Simon describes really does sound quite similar to that problem, but just much worse, putting AAA and indie together and one thinking that they know better than the other. You know, just with like millions and millions of dollars involved and on the table. As for Slikey, he did initially stick it out, but he said his health did begin to deteriorate from the long and arduous process. He just wasn't able to function properly, and while this is just one dev's story, you have to now look back at the many times we've seen people leave the team without tinted lenses. Were there actually more signs than we realized? Obviously, they couldn't say, so we just had to figure it out. Well, in the next few days, I'm going to be deep diving into whether the trailer was real or fake, and I want to get to the bottom of what really went wrong with Hytale, because we all deserve a full explanation. Click the video on screen right now. I'm sure YouTube thinks you'll like it a lot.